What is this video about? This is art.
Hey guys, welcome back. He doesn't even know why he's here right now.
I don't know what we're doing right now.
He's here because we're going to do a recap of season 1 of traveling. We're going to share with you guys some of the things that we think we did right and some things that maybe we did like way wrong.
There's some things we did wrong.
Things that we loved about traveling, I just spit, and things that we didn't love. Okay. So
let's do this.
That's what we're chatting about today. So if you're interested in that, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's because we loaded up our kids and went and basically lived in a travel trailer for the month of February pretty much. And traveled around Florida, Georgia, a bunch of different campgrounds, and home. So all those vlogs are listed in a playlist.
Catch up.
For season, it says like season 1 of this traveling nest. It's all in a playlist. I will leave that link down below if you guys want to just go to the playlist. You can watch all of our travel videos. There's some really fun ones. We did have an amazing time overall, but there were definitely some things that we weren't expecting / didn't go as planned. So that's what we're gonna talk about today.
Cool.
Are you ready?
Let's do this. So I think the best way to do this would be to just go like follow our route. Just go campsite to campground and kind of talk through wins and losses and.
Okay. If that's how you want to do it.
What were you thinking?
It's your world. I'm just living in it.
That's right. So our very first stop was Charleston, South Carolina. We spent about 4 or 5 days, I think, at a campground called James Island.
Island County Park.
Yeah, James Island County Park. This was the maiden voyage. Like the first time we really took the RV outside of our comfort zone and needed to make some magic happen. So we set up. I think set up and like the actual putting together of the RV and setting up camp was pretty flawless. Yeah,
everything went fine. It's just that's the first time that we experienced what it was like to have to keep the kids quiet in a campground. That campground was at the time very quiet. There wasn't a ton of people there. It wasn't super full. And the people that were there weren't a lot of small children or really any children, if I remember correctly. So it kind of felt like you could hear a pin drop. So that was a little hard getting the kids. Like, I feel like that first night and the first full day, we were like, shh.
Yeah.
Like every 10 seconds, we were like, shh. And I felt like, oh, great. Like, how are we going to
get booted out of the first camp we go to?
Yeah, that was that part was intimidating. But I think we made a good call in that campground because, and I don't want to. That's the only thing is I don't want to go too specifically into each campground,
okay. All right.
Just because that's there's a million of them all over the country. But one thing we really liked about county parks and state parks overall was the size of the campground itself, like the size of your spot.
Yeah.
Was good, and they usually also had some kind of trees, bushes, palm trees, whatever to separate.
Bushes.
To separate you from your neighbor. I'm talking about like the privacy.
Foliage.
We stayed at one campground where it was literally camps, like site next to site next to site, and it was sort of just like being in a parking lot.
It was Melbourne.
Yeah, Melbourne. It was sort of just like being in a parking lot, and we found that we didn't really like that.
Yeah.
Even though in some cases there's a trade-off between getting that like ideal spot and getting all full hookups. So
there's always give and take. In this type of lifestyle, that's what we learned. Like, you're going to give up something in order to gain somewhere else, whether it's larger sites, then you don't have hookups, or a lot of amenities on the campground, but maybe you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's not a lot to do around the city.
Yeah, it's always a give and take. But for us, we found that I think having a nice sized campsite with some privacy was more worth it to us than having like full hookups and tons of campground amenities. So at least that's what I feel like. Even the kids kind of agreed on that.
Yeah. So I think out of our whole season 1, I would say, what was the place on the border of Georgia? What was that one? Georgia and Florida. St. Mary's where we stayed at. That one was a phenomenal site. Like right behind our campground, it was like an open park, open grassy area for the kids to just run around and play. When you're in a travel trailer and there's 9 of you, the more time spent outside, the better. I think it was just better for you and I and the kids.
And we got really lucky. The weather was good.
Yeah, weather was solid. Didn't rain very much. And so that was one thing I think, looking back and moving forward, what we're going to do is try and target campgrounds that give us a little bit of flexibility in being allowing the kids to run around and play as much as possible.
And we found that, and I shared about this on Instagram too, that we gave the kids walkie-talkies.
Yes.
We had walkie-talkies that we used to help back in and do all that with our sites, but they were great to give to the kids to say like, okay, you guys go play, take the walkie-talkie, and then we could just communicate with each other and keep up with each other. Our kids don't have smartphone or don't have phones at all. So
if you're a parent considering this type of lifestyle, or even if you just like to camp and travel around, the walkie-talkie is
if you're just a parent who doesn't have...
I just gave it to him to ride around the block.
Right, who doesn't have... your kids don't have phones. It's great if you want to like let them play a little farther from home than like where you can see. Walkie-talkies, old school.
I think the other thing, and I don't know if you shared this on any of the blogs or not, but I know we've actually done a video on the device in the past, but that Smart Things tracker.
Oh yeah, the Smart Things
tracker. This is not a
tracker.
sponsored video in any capacity, but
Right.
I latched that little tracker device onto the walkie-talkie, and whenever the kids wanted to go for a walk around the campground, not only could we talk to them, but I could also pull up my phone and see exactly where they were within
you could track them basically with it.
So that was GPS tracked. So that made me feel more comfortable and more willing to just let my kids be kids and play without having to helicopter parent them.
Right, without having to stay on top of them all the time. Let's see. Also, I think that we were not... One thing I think that we weren't prepared for was the lack of personal space. I think that I feel like because we have a big family and everything, we feel like we don't get a lot of personal space anyways. But it proved to be even harder in the camper. Mostly because I kind of knew this about myself, but didn't always know it, that like I am an introvert at heart. I realize that's like usually surprising to people when you know me and you know my personality. You assume that I would be an extrovert, but I'm not. I'm an introvert, and I need that time away to recharge. And it was very hard to find inside a camper. And some of our kids are also introverts, and some of them are extroverts. So getting everybody there what they needed to wake up every day and feel like a normal, happy, functioning human was a little challenging at times. It wasn't impossible. It was just something we had to be more intentional about than I think we ever really thought about or prepared for, was being able to kind of separate a little bit and get a little bit of alone time. Like I said, we kind of figured out how to make it work at the end. We
got into a routine there towards the end, and I think one of the things that really helped out, or maybe we just kind of realized it, was the duration at a given campground. Right? The longer we stayed at a campground, I think the longest we stayed was maybe 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
Towards the end there, you can kind of tell that there was a little bit of cabin fever setting in. And it was time to pack up and get the excitement of something new. And so I think that's when we kind of knew that, long term, I don't know, if we ever commit to longer trips than a month, the more stops, the better. Even though it's kind of a pain in the butt, for our family, it's something that definitely worked.
Yeah. I laugh a little when you say that, because here's what you guys need to know about me is I'm the kind of person that's like, I'm all in about stuff. I get like excited about something, I get jacked up, I'm all in. And so there was a point at which we've talked about like, we'll sell our house, we'll buy a camper, we'll all go live and travel. And this trip was perfect for us to realize that
it's not for us.
That's not for us.
That's okay.
And I love watching families who do that. And I think that there's definitely a dynamic about your family that makes it either possible or not. And if our kids were older, I think it would be possible. Yeah. But with the age ranges that we have, that's what makes
not the
it.
Right season.
Like you guys know, we're friends with North and South, and we love them. We love their family. Their kids, they went on the road for 18 months, then they went overseas for another 6 months or a year.
Amazing, yeah.
Their youngest, though, was like 4 at the time, 3 or 4. And then they have a lot of older kids. So I think that it would have been totally doable in that scenario, but I think with so many little kids, it was like...
Nighttime routine with the twins.
Yeah,
it was hard. It was hard. Trying to get them to sleep without waking everybody else up. That's the reality.
Right.
So.
Right. People who can't just go and be like, okay, go get in bed and go to sleep. It's like a fight.
What else I would say one of the things that I thought was a little bit more difficult than anticipated was ice. As lame as that sounds.
Oh, like ice to drink?
Yeah, like maintaining a steady flow of ice. I always felt like we were going to get more ice, always.
Yeah.
Because maybe there's 9 of us, and everyone wanted a cold drink, but
at the end of the day, that's pretty low on my list of like things that bother me.
Here's a big picture item. So I think one thing that we learned was to just rest some days at campsites. I think with this first trip, we were so anxious to get out and see all the things and do all the stuff. Like, we had something going almost every single day. It was expensive and it was tiring.
Yeah.
It made, homeschooling was a little bit more challenging than I think we anticipated early on. We got into more of a flow towards the end, but I think moving forward, we're going to build in some more days where we just chill. Yeah,
we definitely in future trips need to have more in the camper days or just at the campground days. I think that because everybody's like in this tight space, their immediate thought when they get up is let's get dressed and get out, right? So we can like spread out a little bit and do some stuff. And also you're in these amazing cities with all these things to do, and you know that you're only, the way we scheduled it was like you're only there for like 2 days. So it's like, we have a travel day, then we're there for 2 days, then another travel day. So it's kind of like, well, we can't do all the things in one day and then be home another day. So we need to go. And it just, it got to the point where
fear of missing out was real.
Yeah. FOMO was a real thing on that trip, trying to like, the fear of missing out, FOMO.
Is that like yogurt? YoFlo? What's that stuff called?
What? I didn't make that up. That's not an Angie-ism.
That's a thing?
FOMO is a thing.
It sounds dirty.
Anyways, so yeah, that is another thing, was budgeting. I think we were a little naive when we set out our budget for this trip. And again, we are YOLO people. So FOMO and YOLO together is a super bad combination, because we would get somewhere and it would just be like, oh, let's just do it. We're here. We're here. We definitely need to see this thing or do this thing or take this trip, or, it just ended up getting very, very expensive. And then we found that because we were doing so much during the day, then we were like exhausted by the time we got back to the camper, and it was like difficult to, plan and make meals in the camper. So we found ourselves eating out way more than we should have.
I think we'll be better at that though moving forward.
Yes,
I think as we got more comfortable cooking outside and kind of what meals to cook. And I mean, that was a big concern going into it, was you have this much refrigerator space, this much pantry space, and to feed all these people consistently and trying to make meals 3 times a day. Early on it was a struggle, but I think we got into a little bit of a rhythm. Yeah.
And we found that the best thing for us was to grocery shop at each stop. So like the day that we arrived, either we'd stop on the way there or I'd go back out as soon as we set up camp and grocery shop for that stay only. Who are you calling?
Oh, I'm just playing with my phone. I definitely called somebody.
So that we found that was really helpful. Instead of trying to like do a week's worth of grocery planning, we literally just did it like 3 days at a time.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a lot with 9 people and 3 meals, and snacks and stuff like that.
It worked.
But we got it down. I think our next trip will be a lot better with the meal planning and the food aspect of it. Not to mention, we all just like, I think we all probably gained a little weight on that trip from all the food that we ate, and it was also good.
It was good. I think, okay, let's talk about work on the road.
Impossible. Impossible. It's not impossible, but I'm here to tell you
it's hard
that I struggled. I had a few mishaps with work things that have never happened to me in my career of working and doing this.
I'm sorry.
I know you.
I shouldn't laugh, but seeing you like that
I was like, it was very hard to like get all the kids up and go out and do things, and then also be trying to do emails and stuff while we're out, keep up with calls, and then get to some place and find that we didn't have good service, and so I would have to drive and find a Walmart or someplace where I could take conference calls. I mean, that's a fairly large part of my job, is taking multiple calls a week.
Well, and reliable, fast internet. Like one of our very first blogs that we posted, I think you had talked, like you were working from a Starbucks in Charleston because the campground just didn't have good cell service, and the way we set up our internet for working.
It was like a booster from a cell signal turned into a Wi-Fi signal, and that's what we used to upload, and it was no good.
So you're completely reliant on strong internet.
It ended up being great once we figured out what I needed to do is compress the video files. This is more information than you need, but it definitely, I don't want to shame that product.
No,
that product worked really, really well for us once we got the files to a size that was capable.
Here's the thing, for somebody that's not necessarily a YouTuber, but maybe you want to do this and you want to work from the trailer, there is a multitude of options out there. I think, can we leave maybe a link to what we purchased down below? And there's a guy that we know that set us up with a pretty good data plan that was unlimited data, non-tethered. This stuff's important. It was for us.
Sorry, my allergies are driving me crazy. My eyes
making
are
you
itching.
cry with
no,
my
my eyes
talk.
are itching.
This is so boring, but very important. What else? You are touching my butt right now.
Sorry.
That's okay. I kind of like it. Can we talk about cleaning a little bit?
Sure.
So, it was not easy. I think even in a smaller space, it was always dirty.
It was faster.
It was okay. So it was quick to clean, but it was like constant. Like after every single meal, after every single adventure where we're coming in and out of the camper, it's like there was dirt always. And I'm kind of a clean freak a little bit. So I was like tweaking sometimes.
Yeah, especially sites where there was sand, which we obviously had a lot of. Once you start heading south, it's just sand. So we, again, found that we loved campgrounds where our sites were paved. That made a huge difference in how clean the inside of the camper stayed. So let's talk about some of our favorite positive things, because I feel like we've gone down a road of complaining a lot. And I definitely don't want to do that. I just feel like sometimes these things seem so, it looks so idyllic. Is that the right word?
Sure.
It looks like this just beautiful, amazing thing that looks so fun, and that's definitely how I felt about it when we started, thinking this is going to be incredible.
The cat is trying to get into my closet.
And it was incredible, but I just wanted to make sure we were super honest about some of the struggles, because I would never want one of you guys to go out and sell your house and be like, we're living in an RV because Angela said it was awesome, and then you're like, I hate you, Angela, this sucks. So I just want to paint a real picture. But incredible things, so many incredible things. Really, you need to go back and watch our vlogs if you haven't from the trip, because it almost felt like there was too much good stuff to even fit into videos and everything. I felt like I told him when I was editing them, I'm like, I feel like maybe we're painting a picture that this is so awesome. But it really was. Those things really were. We
had a lot of fun.
Went to NASA. We swam with manatees.
Devil's Den.
Yeah, Devil's Den. I mean, that was all him.
Glass bottom boats, the history that we saw, the stories that we heard from some of the people that work in some of these places. My favorite thing, though, if I'm looking back over the trip as a whole, holistically, I think it was very noticeable how much our kids kind of rallied together and helped each other and just spent quality time together. Because
there was actually far less fighting.
It was weird.
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate that. I thought just everybody crammed together in this box 24/7.
They played together so much and got creative with what they played.
And they looked out for each other. That was cool. When Noah climbed the rock wall, right? One of our very first days there, Noah climbed this 50-foot rock fall and got stuck.
Rock wall.
What'd I say?
Rock fall.
He climbed this rock wall. He climbed the rock wall and almost, or he did get stuck. He had trouble getting down. And I remember stepping back and we're all kind of just rooting him on, but looking at the other kids, and they're all just like, "Come on, Noah!" And I was like, "Dude,
cheering him on."
It was awesome. It was like a moment of adversity for him, and somebody had to go up there and help him get down, but we got back down, and we all rallied around him. And so it's those are the things that I remember. It wasn't him getting stuck on top of a wall. It was how the other kids responded. And I know they're going to have those memories.
Yeah. And just even things you're talking about things like that, like Rosie, when we went to swim with the manatees, I told the guy on the boat, I was like, I don't know if she's going to be able to do this. And I was very hesitant.
Yeah.
I doubted her. And I feel bad about that now, because she did amazing. And I love it because the captain of the boat was like, no, she's fine. She's going.
She's going in.
It wasn't a choice. It was obviously the babies weren't going in, but he was not having that. And it wasn't me. I was just being a nervous mom. Yeah. I'm just being a nervous mom that she's going to be out there and panic and suck a bunch of water up through her snorkel. She had an amazing
She killed
time
it.
and she loved
She killed
it.
it.
And the boys loved it too. They kept asking to go back in, and yeah, so there was just so many things like that were incredible experiences. And there were so many things that we didn't do that we could have done. Like, we could go back to Florida and do another trip like that
yeah.
and still
So
not
much.
touch all of the
just
incredible things. Like, people think of Florida as oceans, right? Like a beach ocean.
Oh, dude, that's what I want to say.
But it's not. There's so many incredible things in Central Florida, and
Or like Gulf Coast. It's like two different worlds. Like
Yeah.
I was telling Angie when we were driving from the eastern part of the state west, right? It's like you're going through this, like you felt like you were in Texas for a little bit
Yeah.
with all this, like the
The horse
cattle
country.
and the horse country. It's like, dude, this isn't the Florida you think about.
Right.
And so it's just a different part of the world that we never would have saw.
right. And I think if you extrapolate that out to visiting the entire country, imagine all these places that you have built up in your mind to be a certain thing, and then you get there and they're not. There's something totally different.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel about like when we finally make our trip west and go to California and see deserts and redwood forests and beach, and there's all of these things there that kind of go outside the stereotype of different places that you would go to. And you see that when you go in a camper and you really get to see it all.
Pound.
I do not fist bump. The other thing I will say that I think we did right was the shorter travel days. We basically mapped out our trips so that each day there was no more than a 3.5 hour drive. Because if that's what it says on the map, you know it's going to take longer than that anyways, because you got to stop and eat. You got to stop and go to the bathroom. The great thing is if you've got your camper, you don't have to take all the kids into like a gas station or a restaurant to go to the bathroom. We just go back in the camper and go. So that was really nice, because I was really worried, truthfully, about like all of us getting really sick or something like that, because we're going to be in new places, exposed to new germs that aren't typically in our area. And I was really worried that we would end up with everybody just being sick on the road. And that didn't happen.
This guy. An immune system. It's like, I'm like Iron Man.
I wish. So I feel like that helped too. Like, we weren't going into places like that, but that actually doesn't really make any sense, because we also went to like NASA and a million different places. I'm just saying we didn't go into nasty bathrooms.
Nobody got sick.
That's what I'm saying. We didn't have to go into nasty bathrooms. And making our travel days nice and short for the kids, so that
was clutch.
we had enough time to pack up and leave, would travel, then we would get into a place before dinner time and be able to set up, and then
So I would recommend that.
good. I think that was, rather than and we didn't do any boondocking or sleeping in Walmarts or anything like that. We set up our whole trip ahead of time. You don't have to do that. Some people will just wing it, but I needed to know that we knew where we were going next and had a place to stay. I just wasn't down with not knowing. Maybe the more experience we get with this. So that leads us to, I think the final thing is, what is like, are we going to keep doing this? Are we just going to sell the RV? Are we going to keep going? Are we selling the house? What are we doing?
So are you asking me? I mean, certainly things I would change, but we're definitely doing it again. I mean, this year's crazy. You guys, from her travel schedule primarily up through kind of the end of the summer, we're pretty busy, but I think there's definitely another one, at least one.
Yeah, we're already
one more
planning
big dog in the hopper.
Yeah, we're definitely planning season 2, maybe season 3 for this year. We're just going to kind of see what we can make work, because again, we know now what works and what doesn't, so we don't want to try to cram in a trip. We want to make sure we have the time for it, to do how we want to travel and all of that. So there'll definitely be more trips in our future with things done a little bit differently, you know?
So if we do this again, definitely going to make sure you're coming behind me whenever we're setting up or loading down. Like, there are multiple times where like, yep, we're good to go, and then she'll just do one lap around the trailer, and I've got an electrical cable that's dangling off the side, or the handle to the camper. Oh God, I did it like 3
your
times.
nickname is not Christopher Thorough Braniff. It's definitely
Thoroughbred.
Like, it's like Christopher halfway done Braniff.
Yeah, so we're doing it again.
We're definitely doing it again. We will keep you guys posted as to where we're going. We'll do another announcement, let you know where we're going. The other thing we got asked a lot about is if we would do meetups along the way. We might try that in future seasons.
We'll try. I think we need to try that.
We just needed to get like some time under our belt and figure out exactly how we were going to make this work. But I definitely think doing some meetups, especially as we head west, will be in the cards. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this video and our recap of season 1 of this traveling nest.
Dude, the comments are back.
Our comments are back for right now. Who knows?
Tell us what you think.
What's gonna happen?
Fingers crossed they stay.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? YouTube does what it wants. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel if you're not already, and we'll see you guys again very soon.
You gotta listen up, listen up. There's not a thing that I can't get from you. Boy, I don't need that much, need that much. How can I